we got started talking about muscles. We started discussing the basics behind the three different types of muscles. We had skeletal, which is voluntary striated. We had smooth muscle, which is involuntary non-striated. And we had cardiac, which is involuntary striated. So there's our terminology. Myo is a medical term for muscle. Sarco is the term for flesh or flesh-like. If I have a disease or condition of a muscle, myopathy. What if I have pain of a muscle fiber? Say it.
You're not coming out.
Somebody help her out.
Fibromyalgia.
There you go, fibromyalgia. Very nice. So the first couple, we're going to discuss all three types of muscle, but the first is our skeletal muscle, voluntary striated. And it is striated. Striated means stripes. Stripes like a tiger that was wandering around in a neighborhood at Highway 6 to Memorial. Did y'all hear about that?
Yeah.
The tiger that was just like, burr, 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 just walking around the neighborhood. Like an actual tiger, like a full-grown tiger. Like it happened yesterday.
Wow.
Is this in Houston?
Yeah.
Yesterday at like Highway 6 to Memorial, somewhere in there. Yeah, it had a collar on, and somebody came and got it. But just saying.
My bad. That tiger got away.
I know. And then we've had 2 alligators and a cow. What the holy heck is happening in Houston? It's crazy.
Where did you get?
All right, so our striations, our stripes in our voluntary muscle comes from the configuration of the fibers, where they're lined up and interlocked like this, which gives them that stripy appearance. In our smooth muscle, we have a little bit of not quite this configuration. It's more of a rounded configuration. So we don't see the stripes. And in the cardiac muscle, remember, we have the little discs that allow our cardiac muscle fibers to talk to each other. Who can remind me what the disc is called? Nice! Intercalated disc. So even though the heart muscle does not have the stripes because of its fiber configuration, it has it because of the communications. So our majority of our muscles are formed the same way, our voluntary muscles. They have a thick belly, and then they have 2 ends, and we have at minimum 2 attachment points. We have the anchor point, which is known as the insertion, and we have the movable point, which is known as, the anchor point is the origin, the movable point is the insertion. And if you go down that rabbit hole, watch bodybuilders, and what happens is it rips the attachment point, and their muscle just springs up and doesn't work anymore. It's pretty crazy.
It looks like you're on the chest, because then it's like.
Oh, it
like
just
your pec just disappeared, and then it's just skin.
And then it's just skin on top of the bone.
Yeah.
No. Now we also talked about the connective tissue, the aponeurosis. I showed you guys the video. What did you guys think of that video on Thursday? With the hand. When they dissected out all of the tendons and ligaments in the hand and then pulled and animated the hand, but you were able to see that aponeurosis in the anatomy, which is just a broad connective tissue that helps to connect our forearm muscles to move and manipulate our fingers.
So my question is, are skeletal muscles striated because of actin and myosin, or are they striated because of the origin and insertion?
What a fabulous question. So my answer is they are striated because of the actin and myosin. The way that actin and myosin is, it's a whole thing we're going to get into about the process behind how does the skeletal muscle contract, because that's all they do. All muscles do is contract and relax. That's it. Merk, merk. Not really super interesting. But we have the actin and myosin protein filaments that have a little gateway in between them. So when your muscle is relaxed, you have this little protein curtain that blocks. And then through the process of my brain sending an electrical impulse, it lifts that protein curtain out of the way and allows those to striate and interact with each other, causing them to ratchet towards the middle. And then they relax and the protein comes back down. So it is the configuration of the actin and myosin that causes them to look straight. Picture. Here we have our origins of our biceps and our triceps. Here we have the insertions, and it's the pulling as this muscle contracts and pulls just like a puppet string. Bam, bam. Contract, contract. And that's why in a lot, in fact, probably the majority of our body locations have two opposing muscles, because one does an action, I need an opposite muscle to do a reaction.
So they're affixed to the scapula
Yes.
with the tendon? Okay. I
The,
didn't know-
so the scapula as well as the scapulohumeral joint. Here's just another picture showing your calf muscle, which is known as your gastrocnemius muscle. And its job is just to do this. Watch this magic show. That's it. That's all it does. So, and then you've got some thin muscles on the top that do this. That's it. It's a pretty big muscle group to do. Merk. Merk. That's it. That's what it does. So our muscles only contract, and they do so when they are stimulated by a nerve impulse. Our brain, our nervous system controls everything about us, really. Our muscles will often work in groups. Sometimes muscles will help to enhance the action of other muscles. Sometimes they will work against the action of other muscles. Sometimes they will help to stabilize the action of other muscles. A prime mover is a muscle that is responsible primarily for producing some sort of movement. Your antagonist would be a muscle that completely opposes that. So a generalized example, if we want to just do a visual, if I want to call my bicep the prime mover, my tricep would be the antagonist. Does that make sense to everybody?
Isn't that just relaxing? So do muscles, if you say that muscles only contract,
Yep.
but aren't they also relaxing, so they have like two jobs?
Well, relaxing though does not produce a movement.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. I can flex and I can relax. Like I'm not bulging my gun right now. But without this opposition muscle, can I ever unflex my arm? I can physically push it like that, But in order to have some sort of control, contract, relax, contract. Just because your muscle has contracted does not mean that you can't at the same time kind of relax it, if that makes sense.
That does.
So you need that opposition muscle to perform another movement. So when I say that muscles only contract and relax, what I'm really saying is that muscles can only produce one movement. And they can't even undo that movement. We need another muscle to help undo the movement. So that's the definition of our prime mover and our antagonist. I'll give you guys a minute. Hey, what you guys doing in Lab Pro?
We did like a review thing on the microscope and safety and other tools on Friday.
Oh, fantastic. When do you have Lab Pro? Last. So Ms. Nelson, I believe, is going to be giving you, while you guys are writing your notes, some sort of assignment today. She is under the weather. She's waiting to get tested, and she looks like death. And I'm just going to be very open and honest. That poor sweet woman. Oh my goodness gracious. So she's got that nagging tickle cough that the minute you start talking, you start coughing. So she will either be grading or emailing you an assignment, or I'll come in here and set up a Zoom so that she can at least discuss. But just to let you know that your laboratory procedures class will have some sort of assignment today. Poor lady. So here we just have a static picture of everything I was just demonstrating for you. A few more terms. These are really not shocking, I don't think. A synergist. In order to work with synergy, it means to work together. And so a synergist is a muscle that is going to contract at the same time as our prime mover, helping to enhance the movement. A fixator is just that. It's going to fixate things and helps to stabilize the joint. So here, this is just vocab, guys. This is just terminology, just definitions. That's all I'm interested in with these terms.
So an example of like a synergist would be like a track, right?
Could be, yes. Synergist would also be like you have a lot of muscles in your quadriceps. And so you would have your primary muscle, and then you have the secondary stabilizing muscles. Those would be your synergist.
No, the trap would be a fixator.
Yeah, the trap would be a fixator because it helps to fixate and stabilize.
Sorry.
No worries.
So you know, like the quads, the quadriceps, there's 4 muscles in there, so only one of those 4 is going to be the primer and the other one is going to be a synergist?
Yeah, they're all going to work together. So you would have one as the prime mover, and then you would have, and honestly, I don't remember which is which, but then you could have a synergist and a fixator working together to help enhance and fixate the contraction of that muscle.
But like all those 4 muscles will have that different role.
Yeah, so they're going to help to enhance and fixate the movement. Although we got a heck of a lot more than just our quadriceps muscles in our legs, because our leg, this upper leg is what moves our lower leg, and your buttocks is what moves your upper leg, your buttocks and your abdomen. If you've ever laid on the ground and just raised your feet a little bit off the ground, That's a great core workout.
We used to have to do buffer for the military.
Oh my God. Awful. Absolutely awful. I took this random drama class in college. It was horrible. The teacher was terrible. He had decided, he was one of those that he'd been there forever and he really just didn't give a crap anymore. And he decided it was a speech and diction drama class. I love drama. And he decided that he needed to get back in shape. So he turned it into this weird yoga. So like for the whole class, we would have to lay on the ground and do those leg lifts. And we'd have to hold them for, in the beginning, we had to hold for 5 seconds. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but oh my God. You're dying after 2. And then we had to do yoga sun salutations. And those of you with yoga experience know your sun salutation. So, it was awful. But I got in really good shape.
Yeah.
I got in really good shape that term. Holy smokes. Rock hard abs. All right, so this is just a little bit more vocab. Now, in your medical terminology book, I don't know what page, but in the chapter over the muscles, it goes over why are muscles named the way they are. And then it also goes over the adjectives that muscles are named. So I'm going to go over just why are muscles named what they are, and then we'll just go back in and review the muscle adjectives. So muscles seemingly have just bizarre Latin, no rhyme or reason kind of names, like gluteus maximus, latissimus dorsi, biceps brachii, biceps femoris, or orbicularis oculi, orbicularis labii. So they seemingly have no rhyme or reason, but there is in fact a rhyme and a reason. What? So this is how we name our muscles for a plethora of reasons. And our muscles could be named based on multiples of these. So the first thing is our muscle could be named for what action does it do? Flex, extend. So you have a carpi extensoralis and a carpi flexoralis, which is named extend and flex. Could be a shape. What does it look like? Is it diamond shaped? Is it square shaped? Is it a round muscle? All of those you would have, or is it a wide muscle? Like your latissimus means wide, orbicularis means circular. Where is it? For example, if I say to you, did you know you had more than one biceps in your body? You have the one that is automatic when I say biceps, which is your biceps brachii, because we know that the brachii refers to the front leg, or in our case, the arm. But if we're a dog or a cat, front leg. But I also have the biceps femoris, which would be a 2-headed muscle located at the femur. So in that case, femoris is the location. What direction are the fibers running? We have plate upon plate upon plate of muscle in our abdomens, because our rib cage only comes down to about our tummy button, and we have got a whole lot of important stuff in there. Plus, we go from fully supported to not supported. And so our abdominal muscles not only help to keep us upright, and help with movement, but they also help with things like exhalation. They help with things like the abdominal press that you need to do a good poop. Yeah, when you're doing that abdominal press, or if you are urinating and you have to pee really quickly, do the abdominal press. It compresses on the organ and causes your bladder to void much faster. So we have one plate of muscles and the fibers run in this direction. What direction is this? Go back a million years ago.
No.
Transverse.
Transverse. So this is the abdominis transversus,
Crazy how it all comes together.
right? I have a muscle that has the fibers going straight up and down. Straight up and down, the term for that is rectus. So this is my rectus abdominis. And then you have some muscles that they're not transverse, they're not rectus, they are slightly askew. Then they make that nice male cut that you see that's nice and attractive. And those are known as the obliques. Oblique means slightly askew. So you've got one running this way, and you've got one running the other way. And it's these 4 plates of muscles that give you the six-pack look. You have the lines and the points of the rectus abdominis that gives the lines this way. You have the transversus, which goes this way. And then you have the obliques that go this way. And that's what gives you that nice Joe six-pack. And then unfortunately, we do have a very thick layer of fatty tissue, which accumulates stored adipose really easily. And that's what ends up hiding your Joe six-pack. So some of us have a Joe keg, and that's okay, the Joe pony keg.
Yep.
In
In the fridge.
It's just for protection. I'm protecting my organs. So those are the direction of our fibers. How many heads? If I say to you a biceps muscle, how many heads does it have? 2. Triceps, 3. Quadriceps, 4. 4 attachment points. And then finally, where is it attached to? For example, like our biceps femoris, 2-headed muscle attached at the femur. And so we can have multiples of these as far as what is our muscle named. So there really is a rhyme or reason, and you can look at the muscle and kind of guess, number 1, what does it look like? Where is it? What does it do? All right, so what I want to do now is just review some of medical terminology. If you go to my website, however, into the medical terminology tab, this is on that muscles PowerPoint. So there we have the 6 points of identification that we just talked about: the action, the origin and insertion, the location, the shape, the direction of fibers, how many sections. But then we had a couple more just descriptive terms that makes it a little bit easier if you can mentally kind of get an idea of what those terms mean. So again, this is in your medical terminology textbook, somewhere in the muscle chapter. I honestly don't remember. There's a gray box of just terms. So we're just going to quickly go through these adjectives. The first adjective, if you have a muscle that is called, how we say this is azagus. Azagus, and it means not paired. And I happen to have socks because, as you probably all know, I do not usually wear matching socks. My socks are azagus. I don't. I throw all of my socks into a drawer, and whatever two I pick out, those are the two I wear for the day.
Do we have those? We have, did you get like in the body?
Yes. If you ask me where, I couldn't.
No.
But when we say not paired, what I mean by that is there is not a direct opposition muscle. So whereas our bicep has a muscle that is in direct opposition, and azagus does not. A diaphragm would be, the diaphragm, however, is a smooth muscle, not a skeletal muscle. And right now we're just talking about skeletal.
Okay,
But same idea, yes.
sorry.
No worries. Bi, tri, quadri. Bi means 2, tri means 3, quadri means 4. So there we have bi, tri, quadri, biceps, triceps, quadriceps. Some of these are pretty common sensey, you guys. Externus is the Latin term for external. And that's why these are all pronounced the way that they are, because these are Latin terms. And Latin terms ended in primarily US or IS, and that determined the feminine or masculine version of the word. So externus, shockingly, means external.
Would the part of the quad on the outside be considered the externus?
Not necessarily in this. So in this particular muscle, this is the, excuse me, my hair is on my nose. This is called the obturator externus. You have a whole ton of butt muscles, and the obturator is referring to just below the obturator foramen, and externus, this is the most external muscle. You also have a medius and a internaralis. Gracilis means slender. I think of gracilis like graceful, like a ballerina, and a ballerina must be slender. This happens to be a gracilis muscle in your leg. It's one of the muscles that helps to stabilize and enhance the movement of your quadriceps. It's really interesting if you just want to go down a random rabbit hole. This gracilis muscle, although yes, necessary for fixing and enhancing, not completely necessary for the normal movement of your leg. And what they use this muscle for is they will remove it and retransplant it as far as facial reconstruction. So they will use this muscle to help with buccal muscle reconstruction. That's something interesting. Latissimus means wide. Here I have a wide muscle on the back. Therefore, this muscle is named for its shape and its location. This would be the latissimus what? Yeah, the latissimus dorsi.
Like lateral.
Well, not necessarily. Latissimus is a word unto itself that just means wide. And so here is our latissimus. This is a really important muscle group, especially in our dogs and cats, because just caudal to that latissimus right here above the buttock is a big muscle group that we give injections in. It's called the epaxial group. And when you guys start doing things like heartworm treatments, that's where you give those injections.
Those
Do they have-
stabilize the ribs, right? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Those stabilize the ribs?
So yes and no. They intercostal muscles are what stabilize the ribs. These help
Oh,
with forelimb movement.
okay.
Well, you just mentioned like, cause we give like the vaccines and stuff through there. Do they have more? Cause like, you know, for like humans, you have the nasal mist for like the flu. And since, I don't remember what class it was, they talked about like, we don't do the shots at their shoulder anymore because it causes tumors. So do they have mist for animals instead?
They do for one vaccine, Bordetella, which is kennel cough, where you're vaccinating them at the site that they become infected. All of the rest of them are injectable, but they are subcuticular. What I'm referring to here as far as giving these injections are intramuscular, and they are deep intramuscular. You can give injections here into the back of the leg, which would be a superficial intramuscular. If you need to give a deep, and when I say deep, the heartworm treatments has a needle that is a little greater than an inch long. And you're putting it all the way in.
That's for treatments, not for vaccines.
That's for treatments, not vaccines. You can't vaccinate against heartworms. You give an oral prevention for heartworms. But as far as your distemper, hepatitis, leptospirosis, parainfluenza, rabies vaccine, those are all under the skin, subcuticular. And there's a couple of different places. Rabies always goes on the right side, everything else on the left. And we usually, depending on what clinic you're at, we would go very low on the shoulder so that if we did have tumor form, we could amputate the leg.
When do we learn about like, what class do we take when we do like the vaccines and all of that stuff?
So intro is where you will be learning the basics behind your vaccines. I believe you start giving subcuticular injections, and then you'll progress to your more complex injections like intramuscular next semester in special topics. Longissimus, shockingly, means long. Here I have a long muscle that goes all the way from my tympanic bulla, all the way just cranial to my pelvis. We got a couple of these that run on either side of my vertebral column. So intercostal would be these. Inter means in between, costal, ribs. And just like our other muscles, we have one set of intercostals that expand our chest cavity, and we have one set of intercostals which constrict. Our external intercostals are used for inhalation, and our internal intercostals are used for exhalation.
And does it still be considered skeletal even though like your breathing isn't like thought about?
Yeah, so your intercostal muscles are voluntary, striated. Here's how, if you're like, gee, I wonder if this thing is voluntary skeletal muscle or involuntary smooth muscle. Try and move it. And if, no, I'm not being sarcastic. Try and move it. And if you can, it has to be voluntary skeletal. If I say to everybody, 1, 2, 3, deep breath in, could you voluntarily expand your chest cavity? Yep. So those intercostals are voluntary. However, your body will not allow you to do your own breathing. You're not trustworthy enough for that. Because every time you breathe in and breathe out, you have these little sensors that are measuring things like oxygenation levels, carbon dioxide levels, pH levels. Is it too acidic? Is it too basic? And that's what regulates the breathing. Are you breathing deeply? Are you breathing shallow? And it will constantly adjust your breathing in order to compensate for this constant change in pH, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. And in fact, I can give you a challenge and say, everybody now, starting now, every breath you take, you should be consciously taking it. I'm not saying pant, I'm not saying hyperventilate. I'm just saying breathe normally, but every breath you take in, every breath you take out needs to be a conscious decision. Your body will let you do that for probably a little less than a minute, and then it'll go, oh, that's adorable. Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. And then you're automatically, it'll take over and you won't even realize that it has done so. Still voluntary because you can choose to do it. Same thing with like your eyeballs. Blinking, can you choose to blink? Of course you can. Do you have to? No, it's autonomic. So we have these skeletal muscles that are technically being controlled by your body, but are in fact voluntary. Is anybody still breathing? Did your brain just take it over and you didn't even realize that it had happened? Yeah, that's exactly as if your brain was like, she's adorable. Oh Lord, she's doing it again. Okay, take it over, boys. Take it over. Medius means middle. Again, not shocking revelations here. And here we've got some examples. So medius, intermediate. Here we have our gluteus maximus, the muscle you're sitting on right now. Gluteus minimus, gluteus medius. So in your glutes, you have Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear. Mama Bear is medius.
Does medius refer to location and size? Like one
In
or the
this
other?
case, medius being intermediate is going to be referring to size. Orbicularis means to surround. So this is a muscle surrounding the eye. This particular muscle is referred to as the orbicularis oculi. You also have the orbicularis labii. Labia means lips. So the orbicularis labii is the one that you do duck face with. When you're doing your selfie and doing your duck face, that's your orbicularis labii. I don't know why that tickles me. It just does. Quadratus, anyone who's ever taken any kind of math class knows that quadratus is a shape, meaning a square. And so, for example, here, let's figure out why this guy is called what he is. Quadratus, obviously square. Lumborum, at the lumbar. So we have a square-shaped muscle located at the lumbar. Does that make sense to everybody? It's not quite as big a mystery. Rectus, as we said, means straight up and down. Here we have our rectus abdominis, giving us that six-pack look. Here is our transversus abdominis, slightly askew, oblique, oblique. Rhomboid is a diamond-shaped muscle. So here, now these diamonds are kind of on their side. You can kind of use your imagination and see that if I flip this way, that it would be more of a diamond shape. And so here we have rhomboid minor, rhomboid major, just referring to the comparative sizes. Scalenus. Again, if you've ever taken any kind of general math class, you know that a scalene triangle is a triangle that all three sides are different lengths. What's happened to me? Like choking myself here. So a scalene triangle means unequally three-sided. None of the sides are the same length. And so that's what this is, a scalenus, unequally three-sided triangle. Serratus. If you have a serrated knife, you can mentally kind of see that it looks like this, sawtooth. And so here, for example, on my ribs, we have the serratus muscles. And serratus is just the term we use for sawtooth. Teres is round or cylindrical. You have one here. If you put your finger in your armpit and you wrap your hands around, it's a big, like pop can shaped muscle. Teres just means round. This is the muscle that you can really hurt someone with. If you're in a fight and you're gonna do a knuckle punch, and if you get them right in the armpit, you'll just disable them. Nobody ever teaches you to punch them in an armpit. But yeah, because if they're coming up to swing at you, they're nice and vulnerable. Knuckle punch right into the armpit, and it'll cause the entire forelimb to go dead. Dead arm. So there's a little self-defense for you, because you're traumatizing this teres muscle. Yeah, punch them in the armpit. One of the most, armpits, obviously groin, and ears are the three most vulnerable places on a body. Yeah. So here's another little, instead of punching them in the ear, cup your hands. You'll rupture both of their eardrums with very, very little compression from you. Doesn't take a whole lot of effort to rupture an eardrum. You're welcome. Look at that. Learning about anatomy and self-defense. What? All right, transversus is across. Vastus means great. If something is vast, like the Grand Canyon is vast. Has anyone ever seen the Grand Canyon? A couple of you. It will change your life. It is life altering to see the spectacular beauty. Oh my goodness gracious.
Camping out there at night, like it's literally just like billions of like.
Yes, back in when I was much, much younger and I was able to sit in a car for, 16 hours a day. We used to do these road trips from Texas to California. But Northern California, Nathan and I were talking about this last week. He grew up in the tiny town that literally nobody has ever heard of, which was where the family was, which is crazy small world. But we went to like Yellowstone where you could just, it looked like, oh my God, I can't even describe it. It was so dark. Like, you can't even see your hand in front of your face, kind of dark. Oh my goodness, it was amazing. So vast. Vast means great. This is vastest. So here we have, let's play
Were you
That-
talking about the chasms? I think with your hand in the face. Is that what you're talking about?
So well, we would go there in is it Yellowstone? The one right there in the California border. I think it's Yellowstone. They have camping where you can rent these canvas cabins, and they have a little wooden stove, and you'd have like a communal dinner and sit outside and just look at the stars, and it was absolutely the most breathtaking, spectacular thing I've ever seen in my life. It really did kind of change everything. Anyway, so vastus means great. What do you think medialis?
Yosemite?
Do,
So I think it's Yosemite.
Yeah. Yosemite, not Yellowstone. Yosemite is where we would go, and it was amazing. Don't feed the bears. Holy crap! They would break right in your car. This would rip the door right off. It's insanity. All right, medialis. Take a guess. Yeah, in this case, medialis means medial, which is the inside. Obliquus. Remember what I just said? What is oblique? Slightly askew. So this would be a great askew muscle located on the medial aspect. And in this, it would be the knee. And those are our adjectives. So that just kind of gives you an idea of why our muscles are named what they are. And now what we do is we're just gonna, now obviously we're not going over every single muscle. There are medical classes that you would do for like months and months and months, just do nothing but naming muscles. We're just gonna go over the big ones and kind of practice our naming, practice what are they called. So here we have some very specialized muscles called cutaneous muscles. Now humans, we don't really have very well developed cutaneous muscles. Horses do. They have a muscle called the cutaneous trunci. And it's their fly getting rid of muscle. So when the horse is just standing there and a fly lands, now I can't do it because I don't have these muscles, but they go, and their skin just kind of quivers. That's their cutaneous trunci. These are muscles that are attached to the skin, and that makes their back twitch. It's also these cutaneous trunci muscles that will allow, they're kind of attached to the pilla, the follicular pilla, which is a muscle that causes your hair to stand up. So when cats and dogs have their hackles stand up, that's being helped by this cutaneous trunci. Some of our head and neck muscles, these will include all of your facial expressions. Again, we're not listing all of them. We're just going over a few. The masseter muscle, what does it mean to masticate? To chew. This is the muscle, if you clench your teeth, and you feel it bulging right there, that's your masseter muscle. Your splenius extends, oh my gosh. We have so many muscles that extend and flex our neck. So here we have the splenius, the trapezius, the brachiocephalicus, and the sternocephalicus. These three here, well, let me go, these two here extend, and this is the motion of extend. Flex, extend. Our brachiocephalicus also helps, you can feel it. If you hold your neck muscles and lift your arm up, you will feel that contraction that assists in movement of that front leg. And then our sternocephalicus helps us to flex towards the sternum. So all of these 4 muscles, and this is only 4 of many others, simply to let us do this. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. All right, time flies when we are having fun, you guys. Holy smokes. All right, that is Ms. Nelson. Find out what she would like me to tell you.
How does the brachiocephalicus pull the front leg forward if it's in the neck?
So it's in the neck, but it attaches at the clavicle and the scapulohumeral joint.
Oh, front leg in animals.
Front leg would be our arm. Oh, are you thinking that your back leg, you're like,
I was thinking humans, and I was like,
yeah, front leg, forelimb,
yeah.
arm. All right. All right, give me just a minute. She is. All right, so Ms. Nelson has asked that you please check your email regarding class. She is setting some assignment up and will be emailing it to you. That way you do not have to check in for laboratory procedures today. So please check your email. She'll be getting that set.